Okay, so in this video what I'm going to be trying to do is convert this Wii U from the regular power adapter to USB-C power. Now this was given to me from a community interest group. It was donated to them with some other stuff. But obviously there's no power adapter with it, not really any cable, so there's no way to even test it, so it was given to me just, and I don't have the power adapter either. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try to remove this and replace it with a USB-C port that's going to deliver 15 volts, because I looked it up and 15 volts is what this console takes. And you can even see at the bottom there, it says 15 volts at 5 amps. Now the Wii USB-C circuits I got only deliver 3 amps, but I read online this console it doesn't take any more than 3 amps. People have tested it, and you'll get away with 3 amps. So these are the little circuits that I got. Now I'll just open one up here and show you. Okay, so that's the wee circuit we're going to be using. This little, let me see if I can get a light on that. This little USB-C circuit here. Now you can see on it, it says 9 volts, 12 volts, 15 volts, and 20 volts. Now I'm just going to zoom in on the microscope here and show you what way that you set the voltage on this. So you can see right there, let's get my tweezers. This is set at 12 volts, because you see it's bridged there by, I assume that's a 0 ohms resistor, just a bit of a fuse there. So you short circuit whatever you want it to output. So if I move that down to 12 volts, or down to 20 volts actually, that'll output 20 volts. But I'll just test that now to show you. So if I plug this into a USB-C adapter here, and I test the outputs on it, see 12.29 volts, so 12 volts. So I'm going to move that resistor down to 20 volts now and test it again. So let's see if I can melt this and lift that away. There we go. Now I just need to hold that resistor in place and pull the soldering iron away. There we go, perfect. I'm just going to... We're getting 12 volts still, but that could be just because this might only be able to give out 12 volts. So let me just test it with this charger for a raw galley. Yeah, we're getting 20 volts there now. Right, so that's the USB. Oh, why am I going 20 volts? Fuck. Okay, so yeah, I'm just realizing it needs to be 15 volts, not 20 volts. So I'm just going to get that done to 15, and then I'm going to cut and go from there. I don't know why I had 20 volts in my head, but yeah, it's just going to transition now to having that done. Okay, so 15 volts, perfect. That's exactly what we need for the Wii U. So now that that's ready to go, we can work on taking this apart. Now I haven't taken enough of these apart to know off by heart what screws come out of where, etc. So there's actually so I'm actually just going to follow an iFixit guide here on my phone while I do this and just walk you through it as well. Right, so you start here. There's 5 screws here. You need to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 6 screws, my bad. So they're covered with wee plastic covers here, so you just need to lift them off. And you can keep them because when you put this all back together, it looks better having those covered. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if you lose them, but it's just a nice cosmetic touch. Well done. Okay, so it's 3 Phillips screws and 3 tri-wing screws. These screws are 6.1mm tri-wing 0. This one is 13.2mm tri-wing 1, it says on the iFixit guide. So I'm going to go with the Phillips screws first. And if I sound a bit fluey, it's because I am. But that'll not stop me fixing stuff. Well, in this case, effing and stuff. So tri-wing 0. Yeah, tri-wing 0 this one is. This one's just tri-ring 1, but tri-ring 0 works fine on it too. Now just try to keep all these in some sort of order. I'm just using a very small magnetic screw mat here. But even use like we containers or something to help keep everything organized, so you can put it all back pretty easily. Because that's half the battle when it comes to taking stuff apart and fixing stuff. Just getting everything organized to know what goes back where. So we go to this side next, and we have a screw here and a screw here and a screw here, again under wee plastic covers. And they are Phillips screws, so back to the Phillips screw bit. Okay, and we flip it over now, and this side, because the screws are gone from the bottom, slide it forward like that, forward, and you lift it off. Put that to the side for now, and that reveals 3 more tri-wing screws here. So back to the tri-wing bit. These tri-wings are all the same size. And I think that is it. It seems to take the console off. Take the console shell off at least. On the back of the console here where all the connections are, lift up. And that wee vent's going to come off. Yeah, and it must be just slide it kind of back, is it? And it's caught here in some way. I'm just going to try and pry that out a little bit in this corner. Let me see. There's the side vent off there anyway. I think this wee rubber thing here is kind of caught and it's some way holding it down. So let me see if I can. Nope. Nearly there, something holding it, hold on. According to the iFixit guide, it's just a matter of lifting it up and pulling it out, but let me see. That wee rubber thing was just kind of causing a bit of friction there, making it harder to get it out. Alright, so that's the main cover off. Obviously you can see the disk drive and everything. I don't know if the disk drive works, any of that. My main thing now is just the point of this video is to see if I can convert it to USB-C power and how well it works. So this is the part we need to get out anyway, this power in port. Now I think we're going to have to take a lot of this out to get at that because it's obviously going to be attached to the motherboard. So the next step is, let me see, on each side of the DVD drive there's a screw here and a screw here. So that's a small Phillips screw. So back to the Phillips bit. Good. So it's screw 1 and screw 2 right here now. Now on this side there's a ribbon cable, but if you see here there's a wee latch. So lift that latch out like that and then remove that ribbon cable. Something I just want to make note of actually before I go any further is this tab here is quite deceiving. It looks like when it's open it's closed and when it's closed it's open. Now let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so this is your connector here. Now I originally thought this was wide open whenever I opened the Wii U because it was pushed down, which looks to me like it's open going by every other connector, but that's actually the closed position. If you want to take this cable in or out, sorry, or put it back in, push this latch up, and even though it looks like it's closed, that's actually open. You should be able to get that in with relative ease then. I was kind of struggling to get it out the first time because I thought it was in an open position, but it's actually closed. Or I thought it was in an open position, but it was actually closed. Yeah, so that's in there now. Then to lock that in place, push that down. That's closed there now. Just want to make note of that before I go any further, because you could accidentally damage the cable or connector without knowing that. And then you can remove this faceplate here, because that's the two screws and the ribbon cable that was holding that on. So that's the faceplate gone. Now the next thing, each side of the DVD drive there's two mounting screws. So in there is a little black Phillips screw, and here, and on the other side the same, one in there and one just there. So they're the next screws to come out. So with those out, that lifts up, but there's a little ribbon cable here underneath it. See that? You'll see there's a grey latch on that again. So just lift that latch up with tweezers or a spudger of some kind, and just remove that cable again. So you have the disk drive out there now. And the next thing is getting to the motherboard now. So remove the black plastic shielding by unscrewing connecting screws with a Phillips screwdriver. You'll have to carefully adjust the antenna cables out of the way in order to proceed comfortably. Now it doesn't tell you exactly where the screws are here, but so we have these antenna cables anyway, the red and the white. So these will all have to be maneuvered out of the way. There's a grey one here too actually, so I'm going to start with the grey one here. It's kind of clipped into place, so there's a wee little black clip there, and you pull back to lift this up and maneuver it out if we can. Maneuver it back and take it away from those little black tabs. So that's that one. Now we have another black cable here as well, actually, or antenna. So we'll take that out next. You just need to figure out, there's a wee clip underneath the black wire there, so I'll hold that down with the tweezers. I might actually need another pair of tweezers to try and get that antenna out then. So hold that black clip down and slide that out like that. So that's that one. We'll do the red next, so another clip there. Pull that back. Slide this antenna in that direction. It should be in that direction, and down underneath this little black thing here. It goes down and out there. And the white one now, there's a clip here. There's two clips actually, so one on the side and this one. Oh sorry, there's one clip actually. And maneuver those wires out as well. So that's all the antenna cables out of the way. Now this thing here, it didn't really say about the screws and that. It said there's connecting screws, but it didn't exactly show them. So let me see. Now you're going to have to, it doesn't say this, but you're going to have to unplug that fan there, I think, because it's attached to that black cover. So, little connector there. If you can get tweezers or something to grab each side of it and pull it up. You don't want to pull up on the wires because that can damage them. So that's that out. Now, let me see if I can find these screws. Yeah, it's just two screws there. There's a little black screw in there and another little black Phillips screw in there. So that's just holding that black plastic cover down. So that's one out. And the second one on this side. So that should be that, I think. Unless it's clipped in some way. Yeah, I don't know about this side because it came out pretty easily, but oops a daisy. If you look in here, if you push this back, that should unclip. It was just clipped into the metal chassis. This wee bit here was clipped, and there's another clip there actually. So that's that off. And this metal just slides back and comes off too. Now we're closer to the port. Now let me see what's the next thing. I think this just lifts off as well, does it? No. The metal cap does not require unscrewing to lift up with ease. That's the thing we just took off there. Unscrew all the screws that outline the perimeter of the board using a Phillips screwdriver. Remove the silver shielding plate once all screws are removed. Be careful when pulling it under the affixed antenna cables. So all these screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, first of all, actually, I'm going to focus on these. This guide kind of gets a little more vague at this point. So there's this, and this. They're like some sort of anchors for the chassis, hold everything together. They're what I'm going to focus on first. I'm going to leave this metal shield till after, because I don't want to get confused in all the screws. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws to come out of these 4 anchor points. I think that's a step that guide could have added, because it got very vague there. It stopped showing you locations of screws. It just said do this and do that, but sure, it's easy to say that and not show the person how. So these screws here have to come out next. This one here, it's a step it didn't show you in that, I don't think, unless I missed it, but you take the battery out for this. So 1 Phillips screw there. Pull that battery holder out. The screw can just sit in that we cover. We're going to put that to the side because we'll do that last end. It doesn't need to go in at a certain point when we're putting it all back together. Next one. So that's the 8 screws out and the 4 anchor points. Now to take this metal shield off, we have started the back here. Oh, excuse me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 screws there. I'm just trying to see. I think the metal shield is actually under the fan as well, so that'll be the next step. The fan here has 2 screws, 2 black Phillips screws on each side of it. So that'll be another step that's not in the guide, but unless I'm completely reading that guide wrong, but I don't think so. So the fan is out next. Now the screws just went for a walk there. Right, so that's the 2 screws and the fan out. So we're going to work on these now. I know I'm counting again for the 3rd time, but there's so many different things there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 screws to come out, holding this metal shield in place. And I'm just going to blow my nose here because it's rubby. Okay, so that's those 12 screws out. Now, before we do anything else, before we lift it off, we need to just get these cables out of the way. So we'll just slide the black cable and the white cable from under the tape over to this side, and the red and the grey, sorry, over to this side. Now we'll try and lift this off now, and hopefully we don't have any other screws that we missed. No, so that's the metal shield off there now. I'm going to completely ignore that guide now because it's been less than helpful at the end there. So this is the part where I really need to focus on here. I'm going to need to get under it, the motherboard, to remove it properly without damaging it. Like, I could break that off, but I don't see any point in damaging it. The only screws I see here don't need to be taken off. I thought maybe these were screwed into this in some way. We do need to take them off actually, because there's a plastic thing at the bottom here. Yeah, so we can take this out of the way, this bottom of the console. Now I need to remove this heatsink. So there's 4 Phillips screws there. Now when removing a heatsink, I always do it in diagonals, kind of like changing the nuts on a wheel of a car, because you don't want all the pressure on one corner. So you kind of take it off in stages so the pressure's even around all sides. And the same when you're putting it back on. I think that's it. seems to be completely unscrewed. Yeah, that's it there now. What kind of coolant's on that? It's just a thermal pad at the bottom of that actually. It's not paste or anything. So that is that there. There's a screw. Oh, there's a screw there. Okay, so hopefully that's... Let me see here. Can this... What exactly is holding this in place? Just a few clips. Yeah, a clip there and a clip there. So just push in and lift. Like that. So can this lift away now? So that's the front away. Now these cables are running through this black plastic thing, so they need to come away again. Like that. So that's one side away, and the same with the other sides, the grey and red cables. Like that. And that is the metal shield away. You'll find some resistance around these thermal pads here, but that's the metal shield away there now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove this power input here. So I'm going to add some solder to it and then just lift it out. I'll do flux first to make sure it flows properly. So this is my 0.6mm leaded solder. You can see that port's loose already. So if I heat both points there, I should be able to lift that out. So that's our power adapter, our power input, sorry, removed. So I need to find a way now to mount this. Now I haven't looked at any guides on how to mount these because all the guides tell you, we use 3D printed thing, a port adapter and blah blah blah. But I don't need this to look pretty. I just want this to be functional and see does it work. So I'm just going to mount this whatever way is handiest and I can still access it. Now first thing I need to do is make sure I get my positive and negative right. So the way you do that is you set your multimeter to beep mode or just ohms mode. Put one probe on ground and test each point. Now there's no reading there and no beep. So that's positive. See, the other one beeps and gives a reading of low ohms. So our negative is the top one here and our positive the bottom one. Now you could guess that in a way because the bottom here you can see has a fuse on it. So the fuse will be on the positive line. Now just something to check as well while we are here, just make sure that fuse is good because I have no way to test this before I do all this, so I'll just see is that fuse. Yeah, that fuse is still good as well. So we have our USB-C board set to 15 volts. Let me just see exactly how this looked. So this sat there. It came out past the board a little bit, nothing major. I'm wondering, could I like hollow this out in some way and set the port in there? Like widthwise, you can see it fits in there quite nicely, So if I could take out that inside bit there. I know I said I didn't want to destroy this, but at this point now it doesn't really matter, because I'm not going to reuse this. You know what, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to try and hollow that out because that would be the best. Not only would it look the nicest way, but I said I didn't care about looks, but it would actually be a lot easier. So I'm going to bend these legs out straight, or as straight as I can at least. And I'm actually just going to snip them off then. I'm going to snip them off here. I'm hoping this will make it easier to remove them from here. if I can get that. Or not. Where did that go? I wonder if I can. I might just need to destroy the inside of that with these snips and try and pull everything out then. Okay, so now that's finally done. I'll be honest with you, most of it was going out with a screwdriver and breaking away the plastic. Now it's not pretty, but does it need to be? No, it does not. It just needs to have a hole wide enough to fit this through. So if I push this through here, and you get a wee bit of jiggery pokery on it, you see it sits now nicely inside that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, because we have the output exposed on this end, I'm actually going to glue this in place. I'm actually going to put some hot glue in this opening here, and then I'm going to get this port in, and the hot glue will hold it in place. So I personally don't have a hot glue gun, so I'm just going to use my heat gun here to heat the glue stick. Okay, so try that. Push that in there. There, we get that maneuvered back in, like that. Now the hot glue I could do with a little more hot glue in there. Now, this is messy stuff with the gloves. I'll probably have to take off the gloves in a second to do this. Well, actually, no. You know what? That'll be fine. It does, like, I'll peel away the excess glue here. It looks a bit messy. The glue doesn't fall out to the end there, which would have looked nice when it dried, because it would have been clear white. But this is fine here. Actually, when this glue dries, this will be absolutely fine. I'm not going to do any more than that. It's not, the looks of it is not what we're focusing on, so. Okay, so now that's cleaned up a little bit, this is what we have. Obviously not the prettiest thing, but it's functional, and it won't look too bad when this is all back together. So we need to attach this to the motherboard now. So it came off this side. So first thing I'm going to do is actually wick away the solder in these holes, because they're uneven and they're going to make this port uneven. So I'm going to remove that first of all with my soldering iron and some solder wick. A bit of flux actually, just to help that along. There you go. So that's those two two holes gone now, empty. Solder's been wicked away. So this will sit on like this. I'm going to have to run 2 wires here, obviously, but I just want to see how this looks sitting on. Okay, so I'm going to have to attach a wire here on this side of the fuse and here. The only thing about the ground wire is it can be brought over to any ground point, but I might just scratch away this pad here, or this trace, and just run the wires up, do it that way. Might be the handiest thing. So that's what I'll do first. I'll go to the microscope here and I'll just show you me making a wee place to solder for this ground pad. So here's where we're at. So we need to solder ground point. Oop, get the crap off my tweezer. We need to solder ground point here and positive here. So I'm just going to, you can use a wee rotary tool here, but this should be fine now for my tweezers to do. Just scratch away some of this trace here to expose that copper underneath. That's the ground there that we need to solder to. That should be plenty there. And over here I can just solder to the side of the fuse, but I'll just to make sure the wire doesn't come loose at all, I'm just going to solder a bit, or strip away a bit here too, just to give an extra bit of surface area for the wire to attach to. Right, so I'm going to clear that away, clear away that conformal coating scrapings with some isopropyl alcohol on a cotton bud. Now I'm going to tin those two pads or two traces as well. So a bit of flux on there. And some leaded solder. Just like that. And then over here. Now I do recommend you use an extractor fume if you're soldering, especially with leaded solder, but for this it would just make it too awkward while I'm videoing this to do all that. But normally I would use an extractor fan. So that's our point there, we're going to solder the ground wire too. So I might just solder those wires on now, and then we'll get the port attached to the board. Okay, so I'm just going to tin the wire itself. You can see that on that camera there, it's nothing too amazing. I'm just putting some solder on the wire, just so it'll attach better to that board. Okay, so I'll attach the positive first. Let me just turn this board a bit to make it easier for myself. So I'll put the positive first on that fuse. Hold on. No, I should actually be soldering from the other side because the wires are going to have to come in this direction, this way, and then around again. So I shouldn't solder facing the outside of the thing. If I turn this wire, bend it at a bit of a right angle, this might be the easiest way to do it actually. And give the most surface area for the wire to attach to that fuse. Like that, perfect. And then if I can do the same with this other side. Just like that. Beautiful. There. That's good there now. So that's the wires attached to the board. Okay, so we have the positive negative wire attached and we have our little port ready to go. You plug that in, you can see the power light, which is actually cool that it's facing the outside. Actually, that's really good. That actually makes it look a lot cooler when you plug it in. So that's ready to go. So I haven't cut this wire yet because I don't exactly know what length I'll need. So this is going to sit on here like that, and then the wires are going to come round. So I'm actually just going to cut that now because I won't need that much wire. I'll cut. Yeah, that'll be plenty there. I'll cut to that. That'll be fine. So I'm going to take this part away, strip the there's cables everywhere for the antenna. I'm going to strip these a little bit now. And I'm going to tin them as well, and I'm going to tin the 2 points on the USB-C board as well. Again, I recommend using an extractor fan, but I'm just not taking my own advice right now. So that's that. And the negative and positive of this. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is try and attach this to the board. Obviously it was held on with the 2 solder points, but they're gone. I'm thinking hot glue might be the best thing. I don't want to epoxy anything because epoxy is a disaster then to get off. I'll just solder these wires on first, because then whenever the hot glue sets, everything's in place. I don't want it to set and then have to bend the wires and find that the hot glue is holding them awkwardly or anything. Just going to add some flux to this board as well, just to make sure everything flows properly, because these wires are going to be under a little stress the way they're bent around. Not too much, but still I want everything to be as solid as possible. Now these wires have to cross over because the red is on this side of the board, but it's on this side of the port. So I'll just show you that now up close. So we have that port soldered on there now. Let me lift that away. So we have the positive wire and the negative wire running up here and crossing over to the negative and the positive on this port here. So that's what it's going to look like once in place. I just need to hot glue that in place now. As I say, I don't want to epoxy anything because epoxy is just a nightmare to get back off then. Hold on, it might add a bit more actually. So I'm just going to hold that in place for maybe 30 seconds or so until everything melts. I'm just going to heat it up a little bit quickly again, just to make sure that hot glue bonds to everything. Obviously I'm not going to hold heat on too much because it's going to burn everything like my fingers. Alright, that's kind of holding itself in place now. So glue stick out of the way here. Now what I'm actually going to do is, because the hot glue is underneath that, it is holding it, I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue on top of it actually, so it'll like wrap around it. Because while that is holding it now, it can still lift off it pretty easily, I think. And I would hate to put this all back together and find that the port comes loose after a few cable plug-ins and out. So I'll just put this over here like that. Again, just melting that clear, heating it up again to make sure it bonds. So I think while that's cooling down, I can maybe start trying to put this all back together in some way. I don't want to test anything until I have it back together a bit more. Like I don't want to plug in power because this will obviously heat up and everything. But we'll start working on getting it back together and then we'll test it as soon as we can. Right the side here. This metal shield's the first thing to go back on. And then I think it might be these plastic things here. It goes like this. Yeah, that's more like it. So that's that, and this must be the other side here. Like that, and then this goes at the front this came from, I think. Maybe that's the wrong way around. Yeah, there we go, that's that. Now I think this thing came out next. And that should just clip back in like that. And then, oops, it is, it's all screws out. This screws back in. What way was it? Was it this way or this way? Yeah, that's like that. So put the 4 screws back in, like I said before, put them in kind of diagonally. Don't screw them all in tight the first time, because you don't want the pressure all on one side of that CPU. Okay, so that's that back on, and this all sits into this bottom case. Now you can see it is dried out now, most part anyway. That's why it's all white there now. Now one of those wires is just sitting over a screw hole there, so that's why I'm just kind of going to try and bend that out of the way a little bit without damaging it. And that should be fine there, I think. If there's a problem with it, we'll deal with it later. Let's go start putting this all back together now. So this and the metal shield next, I believe. Oh, see, that's going to be a thing, isn't it? The metal shield's not fitting down because of the glue, but I might just cut away that metal shield or snip away that metal shield because I don't think it's going to be completely needed there. Let me see how much I need to. Okay. You know what? First of all, I'm going to plug this in and see do I get power to it. Because it'll all be for nothing if I don't. It's okay, so power is on. Now there's a button here. Let me check the faceplate to see what button is what. Okay, I believe this is the power button. Could be wrong, but okay, so I'm probably very wrong. That button is actually the sync button. The power button has to be plugged in with the ribbon cable, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to plug this in here. And we're getting a light on the thing anyway, so I'll press that. Honestly, I'm not too sure what I'll be expecting of this, but we got a blue light there. I'm guessing that's normal. You know what, first of all, I'm going to unplug this and see if I can get a HDMI cable into that. Let me see if I can get the HDMI cable from this microscope into it. Okay, so to test this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the USB-C power, got the wee power light, and I'm going to take the... Oh. Why did that just suddenly go off? It doesn't make any fucking sense why that went off. So I have the USB-C cable in, the HDMI cable in, and I'm just going to press the power button here. Now I'm getting a blue light on the Wii U. If it works, should be... We should get a signal here if this works. Something just to let us know the console's powered on. Yeah, see, we're getting the Wii U thing. Yeah, so we're getting that. So we have the console powered on. It's obviously telling us there's a problem with the disk drive, but that's because there's no disk drive there. Now, we haven't tested the disk drive, but at least we know the SEER power does work for the console, this USB-C. So I'm going to plug this out now and go back to our normal camera setup and get this all back together and see where we go from there. Okay, so the next issue we're having is this metal plate will not sit over the hot glue we had. So I think I'm just going to trim away whatever I need to off the metal to make it sit properly. I think that'll be the easiest way because I don't want to mess around with that glue now because it's kind of needed there to hold everything together. It's as good as it's going to get now. It doesn't need to be perfect. Now we can start putting these screws in. The screws you need to put in here, you can see they're actually marked with an arrow. There's an X against some screws. That's where I think these anchor posts go in, and then there's a wee arrow pointing to these other screws. That's where the screws for this metal shield go in. But obviously we're missing 1, 2 of those screws at least because we cut a bit off the metal shield. But I'll just fill in the rest anyway. Now, if I remember correctly, the next thing to go in was the fan. Yeah. Yeah, the fan is the next thing to go in. So we'll plug that in. Let me see. Did that? So we'll plug that in and see what way it sits. So it plugs in here. So it plugs in and sits this way. So 2 wee Phillips screws to hold that in place. These go in around the corners, but just need to see exactly wherever they sit with the wee posts. Perfect. Perfect. So you have the 8 silver Phillips screws to hold all these in. So that's those in place. Trying to think now, what was the next thing? Was all this metal stuff, wasn't it? So this sits in and slides up like that. Or is it this way? Sorry, maybe it's this way. So some of this metal catches in the metal shield beneath and holds that in place. And the black plastic went on then, I believe. And again, there's 2 wee clips to hold that. Oopsie daisy, first of all, actually I made a mistake there. Before you put that thing on, this black plastic thing, sorry, unclip the fan. That cable runs on top of the black plastic thing, I forgot. Okay, so the black plastic thing can go on now, and it can clip in, and you can screw it down now. And then this runs under this plastic thing. I think that's the way it goes. Runs under that wee plastic bit there and plugs into the connector now. But it runs over the black plastic cover, not under it. So that's that. Let's see what's next now. Next is running all these antenna cables back to where they are supposed to be. So this black one definitely sits in there. It's just a case of remembering what way. So I'm going to give this a go, see is that slot in there. So that's that one, perfect. Okay, so this white one actually runs over here to the other side. Sits in like this, I believe. Like that. And under this bit of tape here. And this bit of tape. And the black one goes under this bit of tape. So the red one runs up here. Sits in behind. I remember this one actually went down onto the plastic here because I was thinking it was kind of weird how it was placed, so it goes in under the plastic for some reason. And the grey one must go up here somewhere. It slides in here. Yeah, perfect. So it goes in there and like this, I assume. And it goes under this bit of plastic along with the red one. Okay, so that's the antenna cables back. Now, what is next? Let me just follow the iFix again now to retrace our steps back. So the next step, I think, was the disk drive. So lift up the latch in this here. Use a pair of tweezers would probably be the easiest thing to kind of move that back into place and get it to slot in there. Once it's in fully, just close that latch and fold the disk drive down into place. And then there was 2 screws on each side. 1, 2, yeah, 3, 4. And then I think the faceplate goes on then. So connect it back into that wee place where we had it for testing. Then there were screws here, I think. Yeah, 2 screws on each side, or 1 screw on each side, sorry, so 2 altogether. Little Phillips screws. Now the next thing to go back on is actually the top side of the shell. So this big thing here that gave us bother when it was coming off. Now it goes in this way. There's a few wee things we need to get back in here too. Wee rubber like things for the side of the console. So slide them back in as well. So one on that side. Not too sure where oh, there are two on both of them on the side actually. And these things need to go in. These bits of plastic that came off. Wee vent for the fan. There we go. So we can start putting everything back in now. Yeah, that's fine. A little bit of pressure needed on the side, but the metal shield wasn't down fully, so that's not really surprising. Okay, so I put all these screws back in now. I just follow the guide to figure out which order. Alright, so it was these three were the last three we took out. There was 1, 2, 3 here. 3 tri-wing screws. And then we can put this little plastic bit here, slide that back like that. Okay, the next thing is the 2 screws here, 1, 2. Those are Phillips screws. And then on the bottom we have our 1 tri-wing bit, the longer screw, sorry, not that screw, goes down here. Oops, it is a wrong bit. And then we have 2 tri-wings go over here and here for the faceplate. And then we just have 3 Phillips screws to put in here, and that's it all done. Now we just need to cover up those screw holes with the wee plastic squares that we took off. Oh, actually, sorry, what we need to put back in is the battery. Now I'm just going to test that battery out of curiosity, actually, because it's bound to be flat at this stage, you would think. So, no, still 3 volts. It's fine. I know 3.3 is like the optimal, but I'm surprised it even got that much left in it. So just put that back in, and it's got a wee Phillips screw on it to hold that in place. And now just put on the wee plastic squares if you still have them. So that's it all back together there now. That's what it looks like. The port doesn't look that bad actually, to be honest. It's not a professional job or in any way, but it still looks decent. So I'm going to plug the power in here. So USB-C in. You see the wee blue power light there to the left of it. We're getting the power light and the disc light. I think it might actually be a disc in there. Let me press the eject button. Fan spinning anyway. Yeah, there's Super Mario Bros. U in there, so there's a game in there as well. I'm going to try and plug in the HDMI cable again. It might go a little bit funny or laggy there until I get a signal, but I'll just turn on the signal for the cable, which is a microscope, so I'm going to unplug that. So I'm going to plug that into the Wii U now, and hopefully we will get a signal instead of that black screen. Yeah, there we go, we have a signal in the background there. So that's the Wii U working there now. It did come with a gamepad, but the gamepad as well didn't have any adapter with it, so I might do the same with the gamepad in another video. You can charge it, what I might actually do, I'm going to unplug the HDMI port from the HDMI cable from his Wii U, and I'm going to charge this up through the charging pins at the bottom and see if I can get a signal that way. So I'm going to plug this back out now, I'm going to just put it back to the work mat here. I don't need to pull it out yet. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to power this. So I looked online. This is actually pins for a charging thing, a charging dock. I think it's negative on the right and positive on the left. So if we give that 5 volts at 1 amp, so 5 volts at 1 amp, it's taking 0.7 amps. You can see a wee charging light on at the bottom right. So if I'm going to try and hold these in place and press the power button. Oops, it is it. There's a little tricky, I'm not going to lie. Press the power button here. Maybe hold it out. Here we go. So yeah, the gamepad's actually working as well. Oh, we're getting something here. What's this? Oh yeah, that's all the stuff we can do on the Wii U. Oh, the battery, the prong's disconnected again. So yeah, another video might actually be me converting this to USB-C and playing it on this, because I know you don't need a TV for the Wii U gamepad. Well, most games, if not all. I think you can play through this without the TV. So yeah, that is how you convert a Wii U to USB-C power using these wee cheap circuits. I actually got these on Amazon. I think it was like 5 of them for £10 or €10. So they're not actually that expensive. And if you actually keep the old adapter or the old port on the sorry and just drill it out, or whatever you need to do, grind the inside of it out, you can actually use that as a holder for the USB-C port. Fits in there nicely with a little bit of glue, which doesn't look too bad at all, considering this console was completely dead otherwise without the adapter. But yeah, I'm going to end the video there now. If you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments as you always do. Thank you for watching.